After the Declaration of Independence, colonial vessels were putting to sea to prey on British commerce. They flew the flag of the particular colonies to which they belonged. The first occasion upon which the American flag floated over the foreign territory was on March 3rd, 1776. Commodore Hopkins of the Congress fleet organized an expedition against New Providence in the Bahamas for the purpose of seizing a quantity of powder stored there. Fort Nassau was taken and they commandeered a great quantity of military supplies. These ships carried the standard which had a rattlesnake in the motto. What was the motto of the rattlesnake? Don't tread on me, and the 13 striped flag. John Paul Jones, a great hero of the Revolutionary Navy, hoisted the first truly American flag. They called it the Grand Union flag and the first Navy ensign. It was used until it was superseded by the Stars and Stripes in 1777. Jones wrote, "It was my fortune as a senior of the first lieutenants to hoist myself the flag of America. I chose to do it with my own hands the first time it was displayed." So who was it? John Paul Jones. Okay, June 14th, 1777 was the date of the birth of the Stars and Stripes, and its creation was proclaimed in a resolution of the Continental Congress. So when is Flag Day? Anyone? Flag Day?
March 14th? No, June 14th.
1777.
June.
Okay. Resolved that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes, alternative red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars in a blue field, representing a new constellation. On September 4th, 1777, the first time the Navy went into action at sea, Captain Thomas Thompson, in command of the Raleigh and the Alfred, sailed for France from Portsmouth. They captured the Nancy of the Wayward Islands fleet. Later, Thompson recorded this battle in his log. We up sails, outguns, hoisted continental colors, and bid them strike to the 13th United States. About a quarter of an hour, all hands quitted quarters on board the British man of war. Okay, August 24th, 1778. John Paul Jones was in command of the Ranger, which conquered the British warship Drake. He wrote, "I hoisted the American stars after the first U.S. naval victory." January 13th, 1794, the Marine Committee of the Second Continental Congress presented the resolution which was adopted for making the flag one of 15 stars and 15 stripes. September 10th, 1830, Oliver Hazard Perry, brother of Matthew C. Perry, was placed in command of the naval force in Lake Erie. In the War of 1812, he fought the British from his flagship Lawrence, which flew the flag with its words, "Don't give up the ship." Do you still remember some of these old sayings? He destroyed the British fleet and sent the message, "We met the enemy and they are
Us.
ours."
Oh well.
Matthew Kelbraith Perry served on his brother's ship, the Revenge. He next served on the President, which fired the first shot of War of 1812. But well, there's a lot of history in here. In 1843, Perry was in command of the fleet, which helped General Winfield Scott capture Veracruz in the Mexican War. July 8, 1853, Perry arrived in Tokyo Bay, then called Yedo, to open up Japanese ports to American ships. Okay, and then this one's the last one. David G. Farragut, our first admiral, was famed for his saying, "I would see every man of you damned before I would raise my hand against that flag." He was stationed in the Hartford during the Battle of Mobile Bay. He said, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead." So who was the first admiral of the Navy? You guys weren't listening. David G. Farragut. Okay, let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. You can salute the flag in the proper manner. I
I pledge allegiance to the
to the
flag
flag
of the United
United
States
States of
of
America,
America
and to the
and
republic
to the
republic
republic
for
which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
with liberty and
indivisible,
justice
with
for
liberty
all.
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Two. You may be seated.
Thank you, Bill. We were listening. I really appreciate what you bring and the patriotic moments you do for us. They're always really fascinating. All righty, people, I'm going to introduce our speaker. Kim Hicks is going to speak to us on preserving our family history. I've known Kim for a number of years now, and I'm going to read a little bit about what was on the email about her. She's deeply rooted in faithful Utah pioneer ancestors who came with hope to help claim and tame the West. She's particularly proud to represent the fifth generation from Arizona, fifth generation pioneer. She feels an urgency to protect and share their unique and precious history. They inspire her to record and safeguard the memories of her own family today. For over 30 years, she's been honored to help people preserve their family histories through photo, images, and the written word. She's going to talk to us tonight about what to do with the boxes of stuff inherited from her parents or from your parents, how she shares what she has with her family, how she captures stories, what matters to her when using the cloud, how to locate any photo, letter, or document within seconds, and how to keep today's family history as it happens. Her last quote is, "I believe everyone can enrich their own lives and inspire hope in future generations through the memories as we preserve and share." So I'm going to now turn the time over to Kim and take it away. Thank you much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me. I feel like I'm among my brothers because we all have a love for our ancestors and especially our pioneer ancestors. And so it's a privilege for me to be here with you tonight and to share the things that are near and dear to my heart. And hopefully it will make a difference for you and your families. I'm going to go through what I've prepared tonight rather quickly. And so you might have some questions at the end. And so if you put those questions in the chat, or you can ask them after I'm done sharing with you. And if you feel like you would like some more time to ask me questions after tonight, put your contact information in the chat too, and we'll arrange a time to do a Zoom together, and I'll give you 30 minutes of my time to address whatever personal questions you might have. So just know that if we don't get to your question tonight, that I'm happy to help you after tonight. So please just let me know. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go in, make sure that you can see it. Can you, let's see. Okay. Now, are you able to see my photos here? Are we all on the same? Michael, are you able to see my photos?
Yes, we can see your photos.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Okay. So let's start. First of all, we're going to talk tonight about how to save your memories, how to organize your memories, and how to share your memories. So the first thing is, now, based on my experience, I have seen all of these things happen. Photos and memories are very easily lost, either through a flood or a fire. This particular house fire happens to be my own sister's home. It burned a few years ago, and she lost everything, including everything that belonged to our family that was in the house, as far as my ancestors and so forth. I had a few of the things, but everything else perished in that fire. And often we watch the news, we see California, and even we had fires last summer here where we saw people being vacated because of fires. And so that's usually the thing that people want to grab after their children and their pets is their photos and their memories. And that's an indicator of how precious and important they are. But we can lose our stuff through fires and floods and water damage and theft. I've even had people, when they were moving, have their photos in the trunk of their car in a trailer, and they've lost them that way. Through the deterioration, and we're going to talk about that for a minute, through a computer crash, for example, when your computer fails or your jump drive fails, we'll talk about that. And changes in technology, we'll talk about that. Being disorganized, it's very easy to lose photos, and I don't know what I did with that. I thought I loaned it to this person in the family, but I didn't get it back, and on and on and on. And then the dividing of the family box, and then downsizing and the distraction of life and not realizing what you're doing. So we're going to talk about those things. The first one is deterioration. A lot of people don't realize that if the photo was originally developed with chemicals during the processing, that if there was any kind of imbalance that took place when they were being processed, they will continue to corrode over the years. Some of us have old photos from our childhood that have turned orange. And the reason that's happening is because they're continuing to develop over the years, that solution that was on there. Also, some people will lose the quality of their photos. Like you can see this photo here. If they've been stored in too warm of an environment, for example, a garage or an attic, or too humid of an environment, you will lose your photos that way also. And it will age them prematurely and you won't have them. The second way would be a failure of equipment. And a lot of people go, well, I back up to my hard drive. Well, the hard drive will fail. They're expected that they will fail sometime after 3 years, and a flash drive up to 6 years. Now, you might say, well, I've had a flat hard drive longer than that. Well, lucky you. But just know that that is the standard average to losing your equipment. And they do say that it's not a matter of when you lose it, it's a matter if you will lose it or if you will have a crash, it's when you will lose it. It happens all the time to people. The other is as technology changes. How many of us remember these little floppy disks and the CDs, And so I have to look back and think, how many different kinds of pieces of technology have I had just in my lifetime? I think I came, I had the reel-to-reel recordings. We had cassette tapes. We had 8-track tapes. We had the 8mm projectors with no sound. Then we had with sound. And then so we all have these kinds of things. Most of us have these kinds of things in our lives. And so, but what we don't realize is that data that's on all of these things, it doesn't just sit there. It does continue to deteriorate over time. And a lot of times, depending on the conditions that they're stored in. But some people go, well, I burned it to a CD or a DVD, but there is silver in that, and it begins to tarnish or what's the word? It begins to kind of tarnish, but you'll lose your data off of there almost immediately within 6 months after burning those onto those discs. Another way that people lose their photos is through disorganization. I have this quote here I liked because it really is perfect for this. If your digital photos are hard for you to find, how will future generations be able to access them? And I realized that I have old phones, I have old memory cards, I have old jump drives, I even have old computers with hard drives on them that have photos on them. And I'm thinking, I know it's there, but if something happens to me, would my kids know that it's there? Would they know to go to retrieve those photos from there? Likely not. And so all of us are carrying around these photos here and there, everywhere, in a drawer, in our pocket. in different places. So just keep in mind that you have probably a scattering of these things in your life. Now, every family has someone that ends up with what I call the stuff. And what I find that happens with the people who get the stuff is often there are conflicts, family conflicts that happen over, well, why didn't I get the stuff? Or you didn't share the stuff with me. Or I know you had that, but you didn't make that available to the rest of us. Or how come you got all of it? And so there's always a little conflict because everybody wants these things. And then there's also the feeling of what happens. I've seen it happen over and over again, where there'll be a set of journals or photo albums on a shelf, and the parents pass away, the kids get together and they'll say, I'll take volume 1, you take volume 2, you take volume 3, and then every year we'll swap and we'll all get to read these. But it never happens. Once those volumes are divided, they never come back together again. And so that happens quite often. I have a lot of photos that I am searching still for that I know exist somewhere in my extended family. And then the last thing is the burden to the person who receives this stuff. It's both a privilege and a burden, because then they become the keeper of these things and they have a stewardship over what to do with these things. And so it is a big responsibility if you're the person who received the stuff. I find that more people lose their photos more than a flood, more than a fire, more than any of these other things, because when they downsize, they're in a hurry, or they're putting their parents in a care facility and they're boxing everything up. They don't really know. They're ignorant of what's in the box. They're distracted by the stress of what's going on. They've got bigger fish to fry and taking care of their parents. And so attention isn't given to what's in that box. I had a client who actually told me, she said that when she was packing things up like this for her parent, she saw the box. It looked like a bunch of junk in it. And she said, I almost just tossed it because I was in such a rush to get rid of it. And in the bottom, when I went through piece by piece, I found in the bottom my great-grandmother's patriarchal blessing that was handwritten, that had never been recorded with the church. And she said, in that blessing were blessings that were pronounced upon her posterity. Had I not taken the time, I was ignorant of what was in the box. I was distracted by the stress. But I had not taken the time, I would have been lost. Okay, so anyways, let's go back to, pardon me?
Someone was cutting up.
Yeah, sounded like it, didn't it? Hold on, let me get back to where we were. So what I advise people to do is to convert their photos, their films, their slides, their documents, their negatives, all of the things that you have that pertain to memories, to convert them to a digital format. Because when your data when it is converted into a digital format, then it's accessible to your extended family. It's protected. If you have a fire or a flood, or you're not home when there's a fire, you're not able to run in there and get the items and carry them out with you, then it is a very, very smart way of being able to protect your memories and preserve them. This part of it is something, I've been doing it for 30 years. We didn't used to have this piece of the puzzle, but we have it now because of technology. So I want to talk a little bit about what that would do. How many of you have slides from your past, but you don't have the equipment maybe to watch them anymore, or you don't get them out very often? And how do you share them with anybody? But by having them converted to a digital format, you're able to share them. And I'm going to show you later how you can do it with one click. I sent my husband's mission journal all the pages in and had that converted to a digital format. I was concerned after my sister's house fire that this would be lost. And now all of our 5 children have access to his journal. So if anything ever happens to the original, they all have a copy of it, and there'll be no more fussing over who got the journals because everybody will have access to them. I have taken my old photo albums. This album and this album are the same photos, the same information. I had these pages scanned and had it converted over into this book, which is wonderful for those of us who want to downsize. And we don't want to be storing these big, thick books. I've also now know that I have this book. If something ever happens to my original, I have it backed up. And I can make as many copies of this one book as I want to make. So if I want to make it for all 5 of my kids and my grandkids and my siblings, this book is now duplicatable. Some of us have some treasures of truth books that we haven't known what to do with. We don't want to get rid of the originals, but what else are we going to do with it? You've got some interesting pages on there. And so I think these are very precious things to have. Also, this is a letter that my mother's deceased, and I found this one page of a letter that she had written in her handwriting, which was beautiful handwriting to me. And I thought, how do I preserve this? Because nobody's going to know what it is. I know what it is because I recognize that it was her writing. This is a piece of artwork from one of my kids did at school. This was a self-portrait, and I have tons of great pieces of schoolwork or artwork that my kids have had. And I can have that. I have had that scanned and converted. Notes written inside of a card. I used to keep all the birthday cards and Mother's Day cards and anniversary cards and things. But now what I do is I preserve this message that's inside. And I can show you that I can even put any kind of information around the circumstances with that message. So start thinking about what you have in your home, in your closets, in your drawers, that might be a good thing for you to begin to preserve so that you can share it with your family. And then you can make sure it's protected and backed up. This is my father's, who is deceased now also. This was his baby cap. And I didn't realize it was his baby cap until I saw this picture of him wearing it as a baby. And so I scanned it. I have the original, but I scanned it because the stitching on it was just so beautiful and unique. And how fun was it to see that it was actually in this photograph? So let's talk about scanning. I'm a do-it-yourself kind of girl. So I don't ever think that it's wrong for somebody to want to do it themselves. But I think it's also my part to let you know what you're getting into and what that means. I have self-scanned a lot of my own things. But for the large part, I have sent these things into the company that I work with. I have vetted them. I have interviewed them. I have confirmed that they are the best that I know of to do this work. And but I want to just share this with you as to what happens when you do it at home. And it's okay to do it at home, but just be aware. So first of all, you have to make sure you have the proper equipment and that you understand the right DPI and that your equipment is clean. For example, I do know that some people will use scanners that are available through public libraries and so forth. And often those photos are dirty. They're very dirty. I don't know what the deal is, but they're dirty. They get dusty. If you rub your hands on them, they're dusty. And so I caution you, when you're using those machines, sometimes people will run staples through them and scratch the lens, and you won't get a very good result. And if you're going to do this, you want a good result. So to give yourself an idea, 1 inch of photos is about 100 photos. And so quality traditional flatbed scanner will take you about 6 hours to scan 100 photos. So if you had 1,000 photos, it would take more than 62 hours to do that scanning yourself. Now, are there things that I have scanned myself? Yes, but there's many things that I will not take the time to do. I will source it out to do it. And this is what I'm looking for when I do it. First of all, you want someone who actually does it, that understands the technology behind it, that they're well trained, that they're using state-of-the-art technology, that they're not using equipment they picked up at a yard sale or Goodwill, that it's actually good equipment that they're doing it on. You also want to be able to track where your things are with this company, because you want to be able to monitor the progress of how it's at, so you know where your stuff is. And then you want a company that will synchronize the sound with any images that you have. A lot of old films, when the filming goes through, the sound doesn't match up with the lips. And do they restore the colors to make it true to the day that it was filmed or photographed? And also, you want to make sure that the equipment and their technique that they use will not damage your items. Old things, films, cassette tapes, those sort of things get very brittle. And anybody that's ever had a cassette tape get all crunched up in a cassette player knows what I'm talking about. So you want to make sure that they're using equipment that is designed to work with these. This company that I work with they have 2 machines. They've spent $20,000 per machine because it is a sprocketless scanning. And so it doesn't catch in those little holes on the film and tear it up. So that's important. But this is your number one reason why you would want to use this service, is that you need to be able to spend the time doing only what you can do. Anybody can scan this for you, but only you can organize it. Only you can tell the stories. So I have opted, for the most part, to have someone else do that part for me, so that I can do the part that no one else can do. Plus, it's more fun. So when it comes to cloud storage, these are some of the things that I wanted to mention. First of all, a lot of people are a little confused. What is the cloud? We talk about it all the time. You hear people talking about it. What is the cloud? Essentially, the cloud, and I used to think, well, I'm going to send it and it's going to be up in cyberspace someplace. No. What it is you are essentially using someone else's computer system. They're maintaining it, they're protecting it, they're watching over it, they're doing everything to maintain and protect it. So you no longer have to rely on your own computer system, your own hard drives. You don't have to worry if you have a flood in your house. You don't have to worry if you have a fire in your house. You don't have to worry about whether or not your equipment fails. You are counting on this company. Now, there are cloud services out there that will do it for free for you. But when you do it for free with someone, you have no rights to those photos. You sign over in the terms of service that those photos now belong to them, and they can use them in any way that they like. They can sell your photos. They can delete your photos. They can data mine your photos, meaning they can run it through a scanner to find out information about you, and then they sell that information. There's all kinds of things that happen, and I personally am big on my privacy, and I want my things to belong to my family and have control over who sees them and uses them. I also want to know that I own what it is. I don't want to rent it, because when I paid for my cloud service, if I die, then these other companies, once somebody stops paying the bill, they delete the photos. And they have it set up in the terms of service that you can't have posterity come in and assume it. Only through this company that I use, you can say this now belongs to my posterity, and you're able to will the account off for the next 100 years. So there's a lot of features that happen. Because we have only about 10 minutes, I'm thinking, right, Michael? Are you looking at the time when I started, it looked like it was about 15 after?
You're okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we usually wrap up around 7, so I wanted to make sure there was question and answer time too when you're done.
Okay. Yeah. So we talked about the terms of service. You want to make sure that they upload and store your photos in full resolution. A lot of social media uses low quality, and you'll get a reduced resolution. And as you can see from this sample, it does make a difference. Okay, so now we're at the part, my favorite part. We talked about preserving. We talked about how to convert them. We talked about I can't remember what the other things we talked about, but anyways, I want to tell you this part because this is my favorite part, which is telling the story and organizing them. So we're going to go into my family account here, and I'm going to show you how this works for me. This particular company, this is what I use for my own photos, and this is what I recommend to my clients. You can use whatever system is more comfortable to you, whatever you like to do. This is what I recommend. So anyways, one of the things I love about it is I can organize my photos by albums. And in those albums, I'm able to break down nested albums. For example, this is my husband's youngest brother who was killed in a mining accident a few years ago. And these are the photos from his life. And this is his little girl that he left behind. He did not marry her mother. And so the contact between this little girl and our family is very little. We see her maybe every couple of years. Here she is growing up now. But I realized, A, she doesn't have the pictures of her father, and I didn't want to just give away our pictures. She also doesn't have any concept about her family tree on that side of the family. She doesn't understand who her grandparents are, her great-grandparents, any of that family history. And so I wanted to make sure that she had access to that. Now, I'm able to create nested albums for him based on the topic of what the photos are. I can put the pictures from his funeral in here. I can put the recordings from the funeral in here. I'm able to put the program from the funeral in here. This is one of my favorite parts, is after he was killed, we received all kinds of Facebook and texts from people telling us memories about him. Well, she doesn't have any of that. And so I'm compiling that, I'm curating all of that into this album for her. And when I'm all done with it, I can click here, copy this link, email it to her and say, here are the pictures of your dad and the stories that I've written about him. And so she has access to it. I don't give up these things. She has access. She can download it to her computer. So that's one of the things that I love about this system. I'm able to also do some grouping for our family tree here. This is how I've got it set up here. I have different family members, photos that I have of them. These are photos that still need to be sorted. And I'm working on it all the time. But let me go back and show you some really cool things about the journaling part of it. So this was a letter that I had scanned from my dad. He was 18 years old during World War II, and this was a letter he wrote home. Now, there's two problems with this letter. One, as I'm the only one who has the original. Number two, it's written in cursive. And number three, he doesn't have the greatest penmanship. And in today's world, they don't teach the kids to read or write cursive anymore. So already in one generation, my kids will not be able to read this letter. So I was able to go over here to this area here, and I'm able to, with my phone, I did talk to text, or I can type it, and I'm able to transcribe this letter over here into this area right here. So wherever this letter goes in my account, this goes with it. It's attached to it. I'm also able to tag it. I'm able to say World War II letters, my dad's name, and letters. So if I ever want to find anything about that, I just go into my tags and go, okay, I'm going to find World War II. And here's the letters that I had scanned of my dad's, including the envelopes, all right there. So you can tag that with anything that you like, people's names, events, places, any kind of, for example, I have pictures of my sister's fire, and I even tagged it fire so that I could find it easily. So that's all there. I can put pictures of our family reunions. For example, if I wanted to have, say we had a family reunion, and I wanted to share these photos with the family. I have this reunion here. I can also say, anybody have photos I can say, turn this on, and they can upload to this same account, but they can't mess with my organization and they can't delete anything. They can add and they can copy down to their computer, but they can't mess with how I've got it organized. They can't mess with what I've said about it. So that is a really great thing when you have a family reunion, or like in your group here. If you guys have an event, you take some pictures, you can create an album and everybody can see the pictures and they can share into the album, but there can't be deleting things out from underneath you on it. Okay, so let me go back and see if there's anything else before I start asking questions. Oh, this was fun. This is my great grandmother. And I went in and wrote a story about her conversion and how she was baptized in Sweden by chopping a hole in the ice, and why they had to do that baptism that way. And I kind of wear my testimony at the end, and I've been able to record that. And this photo, no matter where it goes in my account, this statement will go with it. It attaches to it. Also, last year, I created this Christmas ornament for all the members of my family. We have ancestors who came down through a hole in the rock, and a lot of the kids in the family did not even know what that was. And so I found this picture on the internet that reenacts that. And then I put this on the back side, and that I gave this ornament to every member of my family for Christmas. And I thought, what a great way of being able to preserve that story and let them know who that their ancestors were. This is my dad. And I made this ornament, and then I told about him on the back side, and they also received this ornament. I also made one for my mom, and then I made some for my sister, making with this kind of an ornament with some of our ancestors. I pulled these pictures off of Family Search, and she created a family ornaments with these ancestor photos on it, which I loved that she loved it. She said, this was the best gift I ever had. And on the back side, it tells who the person is and why they mattered. So I'm going to end. I have tons more I wish I could share with you, but just know that you can store your video, you can store your audio, you can store your voicemails. I have a good neighbor who her sister passed away from cancer, and she said, I want this voicemail. And I'm like, you can have it. It's really easy. Just we're going to upload it to your account and you'll have it. And so you can create books, you can create wall art, you can create all kinds of things to bring these people alive and bring them into your lives. I wish I could have had more time to tell you everything. So let's ask questions. Anybody have questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that you use a certain source. Who is that source, or do we have access to who that is?
You do. This is the same company that I work with. It's by the name Forever. And I would appreciate if you'd let me help you do it, because that's how I get paid. And but I will tell you that before I sent one photo of mine, even one photo, I met with this company. I interviewed them for 2 or 3 hours. I went through all of the concerns that I would have before I would send in one thing of my own. And I was beyond satisfied after I talked with them. And so I send in something to them every month. And I've been doing that for years because I've been able to break it up into bite-sized pieces and send it in. And they've...
How do we get in touch with you to make that bridge to this company?
If you would put your name and your contact information in the chat, I'll contact you.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm on my phone. I don't have that capability right now.
Okay, so how about we have Michael's. Michael, can you send an email? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, if Michael could send an email out, that would be great.
That would be great. I would love to help you. This is my passion.
That
Can you
sounds good.
tell?
It's hard to tell.
I have a friend that digitizes Super 8 and regular 8 movies, but those are silent movies. But he has the ability to record a narration and put music background to it.
Nice. Nice. I will tell you that I have a very good friend that before I started working with this company, she found a local person, not to despair anybody, but she took her things there and then she didn't hear from him. And she was like, okay. So she went back over to the place where she dropped him off and he'd gone out of business and everything was still inside. The doors were locked up. And she fortunately was able to find someone to let her in to get her things out. But had she not, everything that was, she said there were boxes and boxes inside. All of those things would have gone to the landfill because the next tenant wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm anxious to get that information in the email, Michael.
Great.
Appreciate that.
Great. I'm passionate in helping you. So. Other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm trying to simplify things and I'm older and I've been involved in this many, many, many years, but I'm kind of, anyway, that's not the point. Now, let me just ask the question this way. It's obviously kind of a poor question, but I think it'll just cover it.
Okay.
Why not just go to Family Search, put all these pictures on there and then everybody can see them. Everyone has access to them. I realize that's not a great question, but
it is a good question. It is a good question. I'm asked that quite often. So,
yeah.
So first of all, Family Search is a good thing. And it has its place. It has its purpose. But for the purpose of, okay, and I'll tell you what the pluses and minuses in brief form. First of all, it's a great way to collaborate with people that you don't know, people that may not be aware of this is like your personal family vault of memories and memorabilia. It's free. That's another thing that's really nice. But it does have limitations because they don't want all of your photos. They don't want your vacation photos. They don't want your baby photos in the bath. They don't want.
Do they have a limit on how many they'll take?
And they do have a limit. They do have a limit. They don't allow video. They don't allow any kissing photos.
They don't allow video?
They don't allow video. They don't allow any kissing photos. So no wedding photos that you have anybody kissing in are allowed up there. Every photo is previewed before it's allowed to be posted up there. And here's the reason why. Think about the kind of content that is out there on the internet and think about the kind of people, because anybody can post to your account. Anybody. And anybody can change your organization. Anybody can change the names. Anybody can change the information as far as names, the dates, the stories, the tags. And I have had family members of my own who I love dearly go in and say, this information isn't correct, and they'll change it. And I know for a fact that they're wrong. And I've put a lot of time into curating that part of that particular account. And so I like being able to have more control, have privacy. There's a lot of things that you want to keep that you would never put out on the internet and put it out there, because once it goes on to Family Search, then it's public to everybody. So that is another reason. I don't want people messing with my stuff. Now, if I find something that I feel should be shared, for example, this picture of Anna, this will be shared on Family Search, but I will also keep it here because this is my family's account and it's going to be passed on to my children and my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren. These accounts are guaranteed for your lifetime plus 100 years. They guarantee that they will not only maintain it after your death, but also when you know how we were talking about things being converted and we went from floppy disk to every time the technology changes and updates, you may not be here to do it again. Well, they're saying once you do it, you're not going to have to ever do it again. We will do it. After
I have a video that I made It's kind of messed up, but I guess I could send this in to them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. They
Because I did this once with a company, and you
I did
mentioned
too.
this previously. It looked to me very reputable, but I can't find it in the internet anywhere anymore. Is this forever a Utah company?
It's actually out of Pennsylvania, and it's diversified in, we have several places that are not disclosed for security reasons. It's backed up and encrypted in 3 different locations so that if there's a natural disaster or something like that, all of it's not in one place, so it wouldn't be destroyed. We have it backed up multiple times. We do partner with Roots Tech. So Roots Tech has given us the thumbs up. And the man who started this company, his name is Glenn Meekum. He is he's a Army veteran, Harvard grad. He started this company because he wanted someplace to put his family stuff. He couldn't find any place. So he started it for himself primarily, and the rest of us went, good idea. Can we be part of it too? And it has grown and grown and grown. So I can show you some stats on that later about how many people we have using and that kind of thing.
This is
Can you
wonderful.
unshare your screen so we can see who's talking and asking questions?
Sure.
I don't know
That
how.
better?
Okay, that works better. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Good to
can't-
know.
I can't see any of you, but maybe you can see me. Now, what did I want to ask on this? Oh, forever then, would you, not that it has to be, but would you say it was the #1 company? Of course, you might have a little bias, but would you say that this is the #1 company that you might want to go to?
With full confidence, I can tell you yes, because it's the only thing I would use.
That's fine.
It is, I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of those losses. It's where all of my photos are, all of them.
Okay. So I can just call you. What's your number?
Michael's going to send it out in an email to you. And then
now I can see you. Okay. Michael send it out. He probably doesn't have my email because this is the first time I've been to a meeting here.
Oh.
I went in Utah. So if he can get my email, that would be great.
would y'all like me to give you my phone number? A pretty girl's going to give you her phone number without you having to ask. How do you like that? Ready? 480-577-1930.
I put it in the chat as well.
Thank you. Did you do it or?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
480
That's my cell phone.
577-1930, right?
Correct. So that's my cell phone. If you're not in my address book, you'll go to voicemail. So leave me a voicemail and I'll call you back. Or you can text me. I like to text a lot. So
And what's your name?
Kim Hicks, KIMHICKS.
Are you related to the Hicks in Utah? Probably not.
No, my husband's family are all converts from Kentucky and Missouri area.
Okay. Well, good.
I'm a Nelson from Thatcher, Safford is where my parents' family came from. Anybody that's from over there.
And they came down on the honeymoon trail?
They came through the hole in the wall.
Oh, you just said that. Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. I have a database of the honeymoon trail.
Very
Probably
cool.
One of the most complete anywhere. And I
Very
also
cool.
have if you have an inscription, an ancestor left an inscription, I know that.
Wow.
Nobody has that. And nobody seems to care that I have it, but that's okay. It just, anyway, this is great. I might just have some things to just hand over to you to do, I don't know. I've tried to do it here locally and I just haven't had the patience to get it done.
Well, I will tell you, I'm only telling y'all about this much of what you can do with a Forever account and with their services. We have a family history researcher for people that maybe, okay, I'll tell you a personal example. One of my clients, she had family that said they personally told her, this is the way to go on this. This is who it is. And when the researcher went in and she said, it is not. And I have evidence to show that it's this direction. And she said, I've been hitting a wall. And she said, it wasn't until I worked with this researcher that she was able to uncover some things that was a breakthrough for me. So we have a researcher. We want to become the complete memory. This is what we do. We don't do other stuff. We do memories and photos. And we have a lot of things that will help you bring these photos into your families.
Now, can you see this? You can't see it. You can't see
Michael,
me?
you're muted.
Just mute. I thought I was unmuting myself. Yeah, Grant, we cannot see you at all. You're just your name is showing up.
Oh, okay, fine. I have a video here from Legacy. Maybe you remember Legacy.
I do.
And they aren't around anymore, I don't think.
No.
Sad
Nope.
news. So, in fact, I think you could even put a link from Family Search to this video, but obviously you can't do that now. Now, I notice this is divided into 54 parts, if you can believe it.
The video?
I wonder if they could take it. It's only an hour long. I wonder if they could take this and put it all together. I don't know. Anyway, that's the kind of thing that I've got to think about a little bit.
Isaac, you asked whether or not Forever is the company that does the scanning also. Yes, they do the conversion. So there's two parts to it that are what I consider the two most important parts. One is getting your stuff scanned and converted to digital. And the second part is to getting it properly protected and stored.
So
and then sharing it.
This is a DVD. That's okay.
Yeah, well, we'd have to have them make sure that it's converted properly. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever they have to do. I don't know. Okay. It's good to know about you.
Thank you. I'm glad that I could help you.
I'm on the conference call. Kim?
Yes.
I've done some work with iMemories out of Scottsdale, but I haven't been able to be really satisfied with their retrieval when I try to get it back. It only lasts for so long in the cloud. So this sounds like a lot better source.
It is. In fact, we've hired some of the iMemories people to come over to work for us.
Okay, good.
So.
Well, this is so important. I see people in my ward, tons of older people. And the one thing that they need is to go through these old boxes, probably throw about half of it away because half of it's probably been put on Family Search from those 8.5 by 14 sheets, which you probably don't need to save. I tell people to save them if they have writing on them because that may be research that they don't have.
True.
But I would just say that that to me is the number one thing for these older people right now is just to get it preserved, put it on a disk. And they're old and they probably won't do anything. One thing I find when you get a certain age, you're not suddenly going to become interested in genealogy if you haven't been before. Maybe, we hope so.
I wanted to tell you also just a little note. First of all, it is an overwhelming thing if you don't have someone to support you and kind of show you the way to do it. But it becomes fun when you know, oh, this is what we got to do here. I like the fact that if something happened to me today, my kids know where every photo is. It's not scattered through the house. It's not on this disc or that hard drive. It's all there and they can retrieve it. And one daughter lives in Colorado. My son goes to BYU, Idaho. They can access all of these photos from their phones or their computers wherever they are. So it's really cool because we can share so much that way. And
Can I ask one more quick question?
sure.
My brother is very organized and has everything on his hard drive.
Yeah.
But he's very, very organized. Do you think this service would help him?
Oh, without a doubt, because all it takes is a burp and that's gone. All of his organization's gone. And the organization of this,
He's probably backed it up too.
it's still on equipment that's in his house. I mean, that's all it takes. How many people have we seen evacuate? And they, I mean, I don't want this in my home anymore. I don't want to know that now, if you want to back up in addition to using this, then that's okay too. It's not an either or, but it is definitely, it's something that everybody that loves their photos and wants to protect them, this is it. This is the new technology. This is the future.
Well, this is good too, because when they're cleaning the house out, maybe he probably knows who he wants to give it to, but things get mistaken and lost. And yes,
people are stressed out.
The thing I like is you have this in a location, and all you have to do is give people the location.
Right.
Just put that in the will. Go here.
Exactly. That's exactly what I recommend. I'll tell you also something. We're all about the same age or so. And I have people say, well, my kids are not that interested. And I say to them, your kids may not be, but your grandkids will be. And they'll go, are you sure? And I'm like, I know. And the reason I know that is because I'm not as interested in my own parents as I was. I'm more interested in my grandparents and my great grandparents.
Me too.
And so
sometimes I say, if I just had a paragraph from one of them, just a sentence from one of them, just one bit of information. And so you're exactly right.
So you're doing this for your grandkids, great grandkids primarily. So don't get discouraged if your own kids go, it's the next generations after that really are going to care.
Hey, Michael, I'm leaving the Zoom meeting.
Okay. Yep. It's time to wrap it up. And for those of you that want, you have Kim's information, feel free to reach out to her. There was a question about pricing in the chat. Reach out to Kim directly for that as well. And we'll be in business. And again, I've recorded this. I'll send this out. I'll send the link to the recording on the email if you want to run through it again. And I want to thank Kim again. This was magnificent, this presentation tonight. And I really appreciate your time being here with all these guys and gals, guys and gals here tonight.
Thank you for letting me come and share my passion. I truly, truly, truly am passionate about it. So
awesome. Okay, sweet. Our next gathering will be in a month. There'll be information coming as we get close to that. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.